Hey there, guys. Today I'm looking at Unreal, the original, actually Gold Edition. So recently what happened was Epic, I believe, declared that a lot of their IP, or not IP, but some of their older games they considered abandonware. And they said, you know what, we're just giving it out for free. And there was a site where you can come and download them, and they just work off, just an application, no launcher, just an executable, and it still works on modern consoles, or modern systems rather, and just a really great experience. And the thing is, my short experience with Unreal is that there was that era where everyone came sort of romanticized with boomer shooters, Doom and whatnot. I wasn't really hardcore into PC gaming growing up. I had things like Civilization and like point and click adventure games, but I was never super into PC games growing up. And so Unreal was always something I kind of knew about, but I didn't really understand, like, oh, it's an arena shooter, just like other arena shooters. And I have to say that, like, Quake is really, really cool. And my main experience that I wanted to approach Quake with the right mentality is, but basically this playlist that I found on YouTube called like Ethereal Jungle Real Gamer Beats Atmospheric Quake Edition playlist or whatever. And I saw, so the maps from, it was actually Unreal Tournament, and some of the music, and I realized, oh, this is all jungle music. Really high BPM, really intense, drum beats and whatever. Not intense in terms of sound, but in terms of rapidity and concentration. And I just felt, damn, there is something unique about this game compared to other shooters. There's something very unique about it compared to other games that makes it feel, I don't want to say alive, but it's different. It has something about it that only Unreal does. And so for a while I very much romanticized the idea of Unreal as, early 90s PC gaming that was trying to express a idea or concept that I couldn't really express myself. And that whole aspect of how jungle music and the musical energy of this game specifically, and how well it resonated with gameplay and with that era of gaming, became super fascinated to me. And because it's an Epic game, I could not play it on Steam. And I know I play everything on Steam. There's a few rare occasions where I'll download something like off GOG, but I like everything centralized and kind of distributed on a singular platform, so I just have consistency and a list of games in my repertoire that's in a nice kind of organized list. So when it came to Unreal, and so finally, I was able to download, I think, Unreal Gold, Unreal 2 demo. The site's kind of archaic, so I was just like, oh, I'm fine with the demo, and also Unreal Tournament in full. And I just to say, like, Unreal is the exact experience I wanted. It's a weird, ethereal kind of energy to it. It definitely has that vibe of super abstract different world, and this is basically, I want to say the game that Quake wanted to be. Like, I understand that, like, it's built off the Quake engine more or less, or Quake mechanics, but it feels so much more alive and robust. And the first Unreal doesn't really have multiplayer, but it does have a single player campaign, which is actually pretty decent. I only played the single player, so that's what I'm judging it based off, and I did enjoy it. And so the basic concept is you have this, you're actually a female main character, completely nameless. I don't know, what her deal is, but you basically wake up on this space station prison ship thing, and you are being invaded by aliens. And so we don't know what crime she committed or why you're in prison, but now it's basically you have to escape and shoot up these aliens basically. And then it gets a little bit more nuanced, but like, oh, there's other alien races, and the planet that you're on or you crash land into, there are other aliens. The aliens native to that planet are being enslaved by these other aliens, these bad aliens. So you basically just know to be the good guy and help them out and all that stuff. There's definitely things about this game that do definitely have certain Halo vibes, more so in the second game than this one. But the idea of crashing on an alien planet, there being different factions of aliens having an array of weapons, all that kind of stuff. But again, like the experience of Unreal is it's really the music and the aesthetics. I mean, and the gameplay, and the gunplay is good. The story and the lore, again, are kind of, yeah, okay, they're there, but it's not really super important. One thing that's interesting is you have like an item menu, so you use a bunch of items with the like enter or whatever you map it to, and these are things where it's like flares, flashlights, whatever. But then there's also things like a translator, and so it's kind of funny that whenever there is text in the game, so to speak, whenever there's like you go by a thing, it'll say, oh, check your decipher thing. So it's like, oh, this is why you can read the alien languages, and so that's how you read all things in the game. It'd be more sense if they just popped up on screen, but no, they have this little mechanic where you have to do it, and so it's kind of archaic and funny in a way. In terms of gunplay, very, very good, very decent. Again, like I'm just comparing this to Quake because that's what I think it's most similar to, and I think it does a much better job of it. Throughout the campaign, which had I forget, like 20 or so levels, you get an array of really cool weapons. So you get the starting pistol. Oh, the thing I love that I just actually blew my mind that's really innovative is, I mean, of course, all the weapons have like an alt fire, so you have your main fire and alt fire. But what's so cool for the starting pistol is that you point it sideways, you point it gangster style, and while it becomes less accurate, it increases its rate of fire exponentially. Like it becomes almost twice as fast. And once I figured that out, I was like, oh, that's really cool. And I think there's also other weapons that also do the same thing. I think the Ripper or whatever, that or the Razor Shark or whatever, you turn that vertically to shoot it that way. But I don't really know what the benefit of that is. I think it's better for when you have larger enemies and sort of horizontally you can miss. I'm not sure. So you also have things like the Stinger, which is like a submachine gun, and its alt fire is like a close range shotgun. You have this long range rifle that I just realized after beating the campaign that I saw a video where a guy shot the secondary fire, which was a slow moving ball, and then his primary fire was like an instantaneous sniper beam, and if you shoot your own ball, it creates a chain reaction and basically makes this thing where it makes a huge explosion that's actually pretty OP. And I was like, oh, that's cool, I didn't even know you could do that. There's other thing, and of course the risk reward, because if you miss, then you've spent 2 ammo and not hit any enemies, so it's pretty risky. Aside from there's also the the sniper rifle, the rocket launcher. Rocket launcher is absolutely core to this kind of game. I mean, they call it fragging for a reason. I know there's some other ones that are just not coming to mind. Oh, the flak cannon is really, really OP. That's basically your shotgun with a secondary fire from like an arcing grenade. Yeah, I think I don't have to go too much into the information of what the weapons are like. If you've played it. But they're all pretty decent. Like each one has its own strengths and weaknesses. You do end up, skipping the pistol near the end of the game. Sometimes it is pretty useful to get up in people's faces, and if you're low on ammo and other stuff. But then you get the minigun, which just reuses pistol ammo, and just he's able to do it super, super fast. The minigun is also really interesting because its alt fire is just to use twice as much ammo. So if you're fighting a very stationary enemy, it's very wise to use that feature. And some of the enemies you fight, again, are these, aliens that shoot beams at you. They jump from side to side. There's serpent guys, there's fish guys, there's these giant monster guys that throw rocks, and that's almost like a one-hit kill usually. The health system very similar to Doom and Quake. You have 100 health. You get armor pickups. You get like a shield thing which gives you 150 or 200. You get like a special health bonus sometimes if you can. And yeah, you pick up ammo, and it's pretty how would I say, condensated with ammo. You almost there's no chance of you ever running out of ammo, let's put it that way, which makes it hard to really juggle around different weapons. And so when I was playing around this time, what I did is that I always tried to use the latest weapon I got, because I always had the least amount of ammo for it. It always was the most interesting to use as well, because you just got it. There's also these toxic weapons, which basically makes toxic sludge, which was interesting. I guess. I don't even know what an alt fire did. I think it just makes it not blow up after you shoot it or something. So that's kind of the basic gameplay. Again, it's cool. So again, a bit on the lore. The native aliens to this planet, I think they're called the Nali or the Nila. That very gave me much like Avatar vibes. And they're this peaceful, meditating, four-armed race. They have churches and some kind of religion. I mean, they're just like crucifixes, but they have four arms instead of two, which is funny. And you see a lot of them being tortured by the enemy aliens whose name I literally just forgot. I just played this game, but I literally forgot. You just basically help them out. Again, I got very kind of Halo vibes. I think Halo came out after this, so Halo was like 2001. This was like 98, where basically, you fall onto the enemy planet, you crawl out of the crash thing, and you kind of see the big open world. But then it takes a twist where a lot of the game becomes these interior places where you are doing like puzzles in Mayan-esque ruins or things like that. And so in these spaces, you basically you get an idea for what the religion is, how they worship gods, and it has a very Aztec temple, like Indiana Jones Tomb Raider vibes going on. And then later you have these kind of Gothic-ish cathedrals and castles. And in fact, when you're on the main menu of the game, it shows you this big castle and it's zooming around in and out and doing this kind of flyby thing. And I didn't know, it was really funny too, because when I started the game, I didn't understand the interface. Usually most games have a start button and like new game, but you kind of have to click escape to bring up a little bar at the top where there you can go to like almost game or files or whatever, and then select things like new game, and from there. So I was messing around there, and somehow I spawned into like the demo tutorial preview level. It's similar to what people have done with it blew my mind in Twilight Princess. In the opening to Twilight Princess, you have Link going across the plains or whatever. Someone, I don't want to say hacked it, but they glitched it so that they actually got inside that preview. It was actually really crazy. So you see like the opening, press start, but the guy's actually controlling Link. Like, it's not just a cinematic, that is a real game sequence being played. And so I accidentally dropped and spawned into the opening game sequence for Unreal, which kind of is a little bit understandable because it's a kind of an old game and very kind of clunky in that sense, or it was very accessible. And the other thing too on the main menu is that I understood now why Unreal is such a big deal, or was such a big deal as an engine, because even for a game made in 1990 whatever, like I was very impressed, again aesthetically, by the world and the graphics. They have this really cool thing where they have light reflections and light beams, and they have that sort of what do we call it, that sunspot effect, where everything is, they have lens flares and things like that, and you have kind of very nice shadows. Other things I realized were what was it? Some of the effects in general, but the lighting and the look and the tone of the game. It's dark, but not too dark. It was very impressive. And I'm like, oh, this is the game that's selling the Unreal Engine. I understand now why it was kind of such a big deal for the first, or what I assume to be the first Unreal Engine, because even back then, even graphically, aesthetically, it's very impressive. Oh, I remember the other thing is reflective surfaces. I know this has been a big issue for a long time in games, especially like modern games like Mafia 3, I think, was when people started noticing, is that people could not do reflections anymore. Like this whole thing, you go to a bathroom, you check the mirror. It's almost like you go to a bathroom, you do the same things. You check, can I flush the toilet? Is there a guy hiding in the stall? Can I see my reflection in the mirror? That's pretty much the three main things that people do. And, in modern games cannot do that, because you basically have to render two separate or in a different version of the game at the same time, which slows it down and it isn't worth it essentially. But that's completely here in Unreal. But more so than that, the actual graphics on the water, and I remember someone has brought up this point quite a few times as to why in early 2000s games specifically are there a bunch of tropical beach environments. Like, it's almost like a given, like, you know, in the way that, you know, mid 2000s you always have a brown and gray shooter. Why do all these early 2000s game have tropical beach environments from Kingdom Hearts, Sonic Adventure, etc.? And someone actually answered this in a way that was like, oh, that makes sense, which is that a lot of tech demos around that time, the first thing they wanted to do beyond 3D pixelated stuff to showcase the graphical technology is simulating water. And so it seems kind of obvious or benign now, but the ability to show water dynamics, fluid dynamics in a 3D environment was kind of something new and also pleasant for, you know, whoever was watching to, you know, get a feel for the game and whatnot. So a lot of those assets of tropical settings, beaches, virtual paradises were essentially reused in the games that were made after that. So if you were a game developer, you also had an engine, you showcased that engine, and you said, hey, well, you know what, we made this thing, why don't we use it for the game? And so it makes a lot of sense. So from Super Mario Sunshine, again, to Final Fantasy X, Kingdom Hearts, Sonic Adventure, all those tropical beach environments caught on because of all the tech demos and the graphics at that time, and maybe because of the fact that people were just making all these things, other developers were like, oh, I guess we need a level like this, and it just became the standard, just by happenstance, really. And so I just think that's really interesting, kind of funny, and the water in Unreal is really nice. You get these very nice reflections, and I think what actually blew my mind that I don't even see on modern consoles is there's certain reflective floors later in the game where your character and everything is fully reflected on the floor, and sometimes in a checkered pattern, sometimes on this weird like techno green thing, and I've never seen a special effect like that. Like, it looked super cool and very neat, and I was like, okay, you know, this engine is, you know, it's cooking. There's something about this thing that is just not it's not just any other game. There's something unique and special about it. Speaking of things that are unique and special about the Unreal campaign, is, again, to my perspective, is really interesting, is the music. So yes, the jungle music is here. It's fast-paced, it's techno-y, it's you know, the game's just trying to be cool, right? Back when games just wanted to be cool and like taken semi-seriously and nerdy. The thing that really amazed me, or was I found interesting, is that yes, you can start the game, you can start playing and do this all, you know, all this stuff, but at the same time, what actually occurs is that you have a music menu and you basically select your own playlist, and you can form a custom playlist. You can loop the same song, add a same song. You can actually add, you know, songs from your music files on your PC, which I think was pretty maybe revolutionary at the time. But I really enjoyed just mixing and matching and choosing the music for the stage. And so what was also very cool is that the music that was in this playlist, it was not in any way how do I say, worded correctly. They all had the file names and the system name. So you have things like Nolly 32, Nolly 7, Nolly 3. You would have Endgame EX or something, and it was a really fun, like, little puzzle, almost a part of the gameplay, where every time I'd enter into a new level, and you knew you were in a new level because it would give the level name, and it would have a big load screen, and I would always bring up the music menu, and I thought, okay, what do I want the vibe to be for this level? And I've never played it before, so you kind of had to guess and have to think, like, okay, well, the name of the level is, you know, Nolly Sanctuary, and I was just in Nolly, you know, Citadel, so maybe this is Nolly number 2 or Nolly number 3 or something, and then maybe, you know, this Nolly's, like, you know, an extra song or whatever. And so I'd listen to it, give it a little bit of time, and be like, oh yeah, no, I can vibe with this fits level. And some of the songs, you know, as much as I like my high energy techno jungle whatever, there are some levels that are just very mellow, very low key, and I was like, okay, I want to go for a more mellow song. And having that kind of control and, I don't know, input into the music of the game gave it a very different perspective and vibe, and that's something that you don't really do. Like when you play a game, like that's the music you get, this is the outfit you get, whatever. And we do, you know, custom character customization, weapon customization, but music customization is not something that is really done. The only other game I can think of doing this is 50 Cent Blood on the Sand. Hell yeah. And again, that game introduced me to a whole repertoire of 50s music that up until that point I thought he was like every other rapper, but some of these were like really, really good, and it completely changed my mind on the guy just because I hadn't listened to things that weren't, you know, Into Club or Candy Shop or whatever. And so when I heard his less popular stuff, I thought this is actually really good. But yeah, so that music mixture is here in Unreal, and again, I really appreciate that because it feels like there's given an emphasis to the music. Not exactly that it's custom, but it's kind of like, hey, here's like a bunch of things we made and we threw it in the game. But you know, the music doesn't really matter, but you can do whatever you want with it. But I really appreciated the OST and the soundtrack for this game. It just felt right. It felt like it had that gamer, for lack of a better word, gamer energy, where it's like, yeah, I want to have a high beat, high rapid music for this shooter game, and I'm kind of nostalgic for this whole age of computer games as well, when the PC was really making games for the sake of making games and not just, oh well, it's kind of an afterthought. For example, it's, you know, you have fast gameplay. Well, the guns are fast, the movement of the character is fast, and the music is fast to match. And it just feels like a video game. It feels like a weird abstract thing and not just a weird shooter thing. I don't know how to describe this, but like the only way I can describe it is I look at Unreal Tournament 3, or I forget which Unreal Tournament it was, but it looked so wrong, where everything was dark and dreary and dystopian, and it's just the visual clarity of the primary colors was lost. Like they absolutely failed color theory in that game, because you have certain lighting, certain areas which show you, oh, you're supposed to go here, you're supposed to pick up this, like this is your energy or whatever. And looking at the later Unreal games, like they completely lose the visual clarity and the simplicity of the graphical style back then. Because here you have very simple shapes, very simple designs, very simple maps. The details are kept to a minimum, and it's very clear what you're doing, where you're going, and everything has that abstract feel. Like this is a fortress, I can tell that, but it's still slightly abstract. And because of that, your mind kind of, you know, fills in the blanks sometimes. And I just really, I really appreciate that. I really enjoy it. And so yeah, and it's like music as well. Music is a highly abstract, I don't want to say concept, but it's a very abstract experience. And to have a game that visually reflects that, and also, I don't know, meshes with that, that marries and syncs up with it, is very rare and very something I very much appreciate. Again, what else I can say about the campaign? Any highlights? There's some fun levels for sure. I don't think there's anything really stands out, except maybe the last few levels. You're in this alien mothership, and all the alien technology is really crazy. It's really cool. They have a little story how they experimented on this guy, essentially, and turn him into some sort of superhuman guy. A frustrating thing is sometimes you would run out of flares, or you'd run out of your flashlight, and then you'd be left with flares, and you don't want to use your flares because you only have so many. I remember there's this one tower level where I was just lost, man. Like, it has 3 different levels. I thought you just have to go to the top, but then it's like, no, you don't do that. And then what's really missing or whatever is that you were supposed to there was like a place on the 2nd floor which went to a higher floor that was not the 3rd floor. There was like a secret 3rd and 4th floor, and so you had to take a combination of different elevators. I found that super, I'm not sure tedious, but just very difficult to navigate. Besides that, though, is overall very fun. Definitely some strategies for loading of the grenade launcher. You could hold down R to launch a bunch of horizontal flyby ones, or hold L to, or left click to, or right click rather to, load up a bunch of bouncing ones essentially that travel in an arc, and you find a stationary enemy, you just blast them with six of them at once. It feels really good. There weren't any really puzzles I know there were puzzles in the Mayan ruins, but like that's very rare. There's not a lot of puzzles in this game. It's mostly shooting, and just about the mood, the vibe, the feel. It feels very, very upbeat, very uplifting in a way. I know you're like running from aliens, you're like on some cyber prison planet or whatever, but it just feels fun. Like it's just fun, and it's really well made. I was looking at this game being like, yeah, this is better than some other games, of the same era, of the same time. I was very impressed with Unreal, because I thought Unreal Tournament would be, oh, that's where it is. But Unreal in itself was actually very, very good. Maybe I'll also take this opportunity to talk a little bit about Unreal 2, simply because I'm not really going to be talking that as a full game, since I played the demo and I was like, okay, I get the gist of this, but I really feel like I wanted to play it. So I'll just yap about it a little bit here. Unreal 2 is very funny because it came out in the post-Halo era, and it shows so badly. First of all, you're a guy called John. You end up going to this alien planet. You have basically like an assault rifle and someone over the comms, having this conversation with you. It's a guy, actually. So he's like this nerd guy who's, showing up on the camera like, oh, I see you on the camera, going to help you navigate, blah, blah, blah. And you're fighting this really cool race of like small blue monkey space alien creatures, which are actually fairly interesting, and they have these like blue tridents, which in turn are how would I say this? They're like shock rifle. Well, it's literally called a shock rifle. It's shooting these blue things, and you can pick up, their new weapons and use them and stuff. And so it felt very much, trying to copy Halo and of that type. I know you have a reload button now and all that good stuff. No regenerating health, as far as I recall. But I played Unreal 2, and I'm like, okay, I understand more or less the vibe that's going on here. I don't really have to investigate more. But yeah, I was kind of like, yeah. And the voice acting for the main character was very, it was not good. Like, the nerd guy on the intercom was way better than the main guy, who, he spoke his lines for sure, but that's all he did. He was very, monotone, very, unanimated, basically. And so there's something weird with his recording quality. But yeah, Unreal, it's surprisingly a great game. The ending is very fun. You kind of, beat... It was kind of a weird thing where first you have this fight with this giant flying demon guy with a rocket arm in the subterranean volcano, and then you beat him, but he flies away, and then you fight him only a couple levels later inside this giant reactor core. And I thought, okay, now the game's over. No, now you have to escape the facility, which is another few levels, going back the same place you had, restoring power and doing more stuff. And then you finally get to fight the final boss, which was this giant arachnid guy with these 4 pillars of plasma or light or whatever. And once you defeat him, then you get on the ship and you leave. And it has this whole ironic twist at the end. It's like, oh, okay, you've escaped the alien facility, but now you are, stranded on this ship, imprisoned in the depths of space, just like the beginning of the game. And so I like how it had that roundabout finishing of the whole story arc, and just bringing that home, basically. But yeah, no, I'm just super excited and super glad that Unreal was everything I wanted to be. I wanted to just have a very cool, very fun shooter that basically, gave you a decent campaign, a good array and assortment of weapons and challenges and whatnot, and just have a good time with really good music and fast-paced gameplay. That it is what it is. And I can see why people really like it. I can see why the Unreal Engine was kind of a big deal at the time. And again, I'm just really nostalgic, I guess, for this era of PC gaming that I technically didn't really experience. Anyway, that's pretty much all I got to say about this game. Really, really great, really fun. And I'll see you guys later. Bye.